You're looking for a microscope that actually fits on your bench, stays steady when you're adjusting focus, and gives you images worth the money you're spending, not just a long list of numbers that sound impressive on paper. Most of us have been there. You see a glossy ad, the magnification stats sparkle, but then you wonder if the thing will actually work for hobby-level solder inspection, small part photography, or a home biology setup without turning every session into a lesson in fiddling. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'm going to walk through why the AmScope SM4TZZ 144A 18M3 can be that reliable, everyday workhorse, or why you might be better off looking elsewhere. First off, let's talk about the type of work this microscope is built for. It's a trinocular stereo model, which means you have two eyepieces for comfortable, depth-rich viewing and a third port for a camera that captures exactly what you see. That configuration is a sweet spot for people who need to both examine and document. Think of a hobbyist electronics repairer who needs to see the layers of a circuit board, a teacher who wants to record a live dissection for the class, or a small-scale jeweler checking settings under magnification. The camera is an 18-megapixel sensor, so the stills you pull straight into a report or a YouTube thumbnail are sharp enough to show fine details without pixelation. Now, you might wonder about the zoom part of the name. This isn't a digital zoom that just enlarges pixels, it's an optical zoom range that runs from 7 up to 45. In practice, that means you can start with a broad view to locate a specimen, then smoothly dial in for a close-up without losing the three-dimensional perspective that stereo microscopes excel at. I've seen people struggle with fixed magnification rigs that force you to swap objective lenses every time they need a different view. With this AmScope you stay on one optical train, which cuts down on the time you spend swapping parts and worrying about dust getting onto lenses. One of the hidden trade-offs that often pops up in the reviews is the lighting system. The SM4TZZ comes with an integrated LED ring that sits around the specimen stage. In a lab setting that's great because the light is evenly distributed and you can adjust intensity with a knob. In a home office, however, you might notice that the ring can produce a slight glare if you're trying to photograph reflective surfaces like metal pins or polished stones. The workaround is simple: tilt the specimen a bit or use a diffuser sheet you can buy for a few dollars. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of before you start shooting glossy jewelry. Another practical point is the ergonomics of the stand. The microscope sits on a heavy, steel base with a column that can be raised or lowered smoothly. The column lock holds firmly, so you won't find the whole thing wobbling when you lean in to adjust focus. That stability translates directly into cleaner images, no blurred frames from a shaking platform. On the flip side, the base is fairly bulky, which means you'll need a decent amount of desk real estate. If you're cramped in a dorm room or a tiny workshop, you'll have to carve out a dedicated spot. It's not portable enough to slip into a backpack for field work, but for a permanent workstation it's exactly what you want. Let's get into who really benefits from this setup. If you're a serious hobbyist or a small business owner who needs to document work for clients, say, a watchmaker showing the inner gears or a hobbyist microscope enthusiast sharing finds on social media, this model hits the sweet spot. The built-in camera eliminates the need to buy a separate mount and adapter, and the 18MP sensor gives you enough resolution for prints up to A4 without looking grainy. It also supports live video feed to a computer, so you can stream a session on Twitch or Zoom without extra gear. For educators, the trinocular head lets a teacher keep both eyes on the sample while a camera records the lesson, which is far more engaging than a single-piece scope that forces you to constantly switch between looking and showing. Conversely, if your main interest is ultra-high magnification, like what you'd need for cellular biology or semiconductor inspection, you'll quickly hit the ceiling of the 45 optical zoom. Those fields usually demand compound microscopes with objectives that go up to 1000 and beyond, plus specialized illumination like phase contrast. The SM4TZZ's stereo design gives you depth perception, which is fantastic for three-dimensional objects, but not ideal for flat, thin specimens where you need high numerical aperture. Similarly, if you're after a truly portable solution for field trips or on-site inspections, The weight of the steel base and the need for a power outlet for the LED ring make it less convenient than a compact digital microscope that runs on batteries. What about the day-to-day user experience? After unboxing, you'll find the microscope already assembled, with the optics aligned and